6:30. Call the meeting to order. We've done, I think everybody's done their audio check.
Hello. Hello. Can you hear me? Turn it off. Hello.
Can you speak into it again?
Hello.
It's coming through.
Yes.
Do we have any additions, deletions, or corrections to the agenda this evening?
I move to approve the agenda as submitted.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor, aye.
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 Opposed? This is our public comment section. Do we have any public comment?
Any general public comment? Anyone online wish to make any general public comment? Seeing none.
Okay. Let's look at our minutes from our August 23rd meeting. Do we have any corrections, issues with those minutes? If not, I'll entertain a motion to approve them.
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor, aye.
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 Anyone opposed? All right, we'll go on then to new business. And we'll let Nate take it away.
Okay, so this is the continued application for the decks and easements for 11110 and 11120 Belvedere Avenue. The McSpaddens are on the Zoom call as well. If you recall from last meeting, we had basically phase one of the easement agreement application, which was kind of the conceptual design of and illustration of the easements. Tonight, we basically have the phase two, which includes all the documentation that will be recorded for the right-of-way easements, which have been drawn up by a professional surveyor. So if these documents are approved by Planning Commission, then they will be presented to the Board of Trustees for final approval for those agreements. Also, I just labeled these kind of with letters. And if you recall, the variances were approved at the last Planning Commission, and they were approved at the Board of Trustees. So we have the variance taken care of. Next, just phase two of the easement agreements. And also tonight, the final approval of the architectural and zoning applications for both decks. And if you recall, both decks are replacements, direct replacements with the exact footprint being preserved at both locations. So the packet tonight has a bunch of information. I think we talked quite a bit about them last time as well. Staff doesn't have any concerns with these, and I can review any documents you wish to view or answer any questions you may have. Again, the McSpaddens are online for any questions as well.
Lisa?
So Nate, if you move on to the right-of-way easement agreements, are we there yet? I have a question about the actual agreement.
Let me see.
Or do you want to wait for that?
No, that's
We're
fine.
there.
Okay. on, under number 4 of the letter, because the letters are similar,
Uh-huh.
the content is the same. Could you explain the insurance? Is that insurance that, since they are basically now maintaining property that we have, the right of way, do they have to hold insurance on that property? So the
Yeah,
town
this
is
was-
not sued for any problem?
Correct. This was inserted by the town attorney for town protection. The applicants have actually looked into this. It is not necessarily easy or cheap to get, but they are going through the process of acquiring it. However, we also have been talking about perhaps in the future, maybe if we'll see if the insurance is obtainable easily, then we can proceed as is. If not, they might request the town to consider vacating and selling the same property essentially, but we're not quite there yet.
So if ultimately the town still owns it and we're leasing it or renting it to them, wouldn't that come under an umbrella of insurance that we have? The town, or I say we, but the town has?
I don't know.
That's interesting. Okay. Maybe that could be clarified. So because I would think that this is a common situation
I don't think it's a common situation
to be using the right of way.
to have an easement like
an
this is
easement?
not common, I
Oh,
would say.
okay. All right. Okay.
But like I said, the applicants have researched it. Bruce, I don't know if you want to weigh in here. as
Yes,
far as what
I
you found.
would be happy to. We did get a hold of our insurance. It is not an easy process. To get the coverage, you have to have the primary residence and the owner of the cabins under the same insurance program, which we are in the process of doing with our partner. The insurance only comes in $1 million increments, and it would run right now around $1,200 a year on the property. So I had just asked, what we could do going forward. I would think that was, and I would be happy to get another legal opinion on it, that it would be under your umbrella policy. But it is not as easy as initially when Nate asked me to look into it. Our cabins are in a family kind of trust. And so it's not just as simple as I thought it would be. But that's where we're at on it right now.
So I assume you've explored in your umbrella policy, having it specifically named, that easement area so that it's specifically covered under the umbrella. Have they talked to you about that, or have you discussed that with the insurance company?
I have not. And what you're saying is just to have them ensure that section of the easement only.
Just under your homeowner's insurance, I know that I have an umbrella policy and I can name specific things such as jewelry or other things that I specifically want covered in that umbrella policy. Now it will take the cost up, but I don't think it'll take the cost up this much. And they may not be willing to do something like that. It was just a thought, just a
Well, I
question.
appreciate that. I will check it out. I think possibly since it's not attached to the trustee's home, that there may be something, but I will look into that and get back to you. We will take care of it one way or the other, because we really do need to replace the decks.
Well, and then the solution that Nate suggested as a fallback.
Yeah.
That would be a process that I'm not totally familiar with. That would need to require some research. Vacation of right of way is in a whole nother. ball of
Yeah, and
wax.
yeah, it's,
Was
Yeah.
that what you had to do on Hondo? Not too long ago, that wasn't the same right-of-way problem, was it? Right?
No, that was a parcel sale.
That was, yeah.
Do we have any more questions from the commissioners on this particular topic?
Well, what kind of risk are we worried about here? What are we trying to insure against?
It's just, since it's town right of way property, I don't know, like whatever could happen in the right of way. I don't. This was basically,
Injury, like if somebody falls or hurts themselves right
Yeah,
whatever.
yeah. So
Property
I-
damage, it's kind of listed here.
So I guess if technically, since the deck is on town property, if someone and the stairs are, if someone fell and was injured or something and wanted to sue, then, whose property is it on? It's on the town's property technically.
So they could sue the town.
So I guess that's,
I do have another.
You have a question?
And why is it that we don't want to, for instance, sell them this property?
because the vacation of right of way is a much more complicated
But it's not
process.
an impossible task.
Well, I don't know that
I
they haven't asked to buy it first of all, and that's not what is in front of us right now, but it's a fallback possibility that Nate mentioned earlier.
Right.
So we're
We've talked-
considering that right
We've
now.
talked about it with them in the past, but I mean, when we first started working on this project, but in my eyes, this was the easier way to go because it's a more, I guess, defined process, a little bit more straightforward.
Would this set a precedent for others?
Perhaps, I think that any of the applications that we have are generally assumed to be considered on a case-by-case basis, but sure, any precedent
Someone
set then makes it an argument for applicants in the future, but
To do that,
the town should consider everything on a case-by-case
but
basis.
it would be expensive for the homeowner. You know, I'm just thinking of other incidents where there may be something in the right of way already that someone wants to fix up. And if we go this way, they're going to have to buy that insurance to get an easement instead of buy the property.
Yeah, I mean, this is, like I said, just from basically our town attorney provided this documentation for us to use. So that's just what
That's good.
I've used. I haven't really pushed back on it, in terms of, does this really need to be here? Or, can there be a different coverage amount or anything like that? So
Interesting,
I
yeah.
could do that.
Well, if they are able to cover it somehow and with the regular homeowners umbrella, we can maybe have the attorney restate this so that they aren't required to have the general liability commercial, as it's stated, but we don't know. They're going to have to just research it some more.
Right, and I think it should probably be if the planning commission wants to approve it, it could be approved contingent on
On that.
figuring this out, the insurance, and then making sure that whatever solution they find matches up to the agreement.
Good question, Lisa. Do we have any others? Todd, did you have a comment?
Yeah, I think this is being misread. The way it is, it's insurance, the grantee shall procure and maintain and shall cause any subcontractor of the grantee to procure and maintain basically liability insurance. So anyone you would have doing work on the property.
That's how I originally read it. But there is the question of the fact that the town does own this property. So,
Right.
yeah, that's
Yeah,
how I
the way this
originally read it.
reads, to me, it's basically saying anyone you have work on it has to have that liability coverage.
Well, if they have to cut the grass or something themselves.
So I kind of read it a little differently. I look at the first part of the sentence, the grantee shall procure and maintain and shall cause any subcontractors. So that to me is I have a broader reading of it.
The and is important, isn't it?
Expensive.
Um,
Why wouldn't the town's liability insurance cover this?
Because it's not the town's use,
Well, the town's owns it, right?
but the town doesn't own or build the deck or the stairs or the things that are on it, in it. Insurance rules the world, unfortunately.
Okay, so any more questions or discussion on this? Are we ready for a motion regarding, we can combine the easement and the architecture approval as well, I guess,
Yeah, I've labeled it as, get back to the
separately?
top. Yeah, I mean, I labeled them as, applications 2022-03-21 A and B for the easement requests, and then E and F for the architectural and zoning applications. There is a description of the materials being used for the decks down below here. If I can find it. So like I said, the footprints aren't changing, only replacement with composite materials, improving the fire resistance of the cabins and supportive of the town's fire mitigation efforts. And then there's just a description of the pending work and for both decks, framing, et cetera.
So you think we need to have two separate motions for A and B and separate for E and F?
Not necessarily.
Okay,
So I'll make a motion. I'll try to incorporate both of them. So I move to approve applications 2022-0321 A and B for the respective easements, and the applications 2022-0321 E and F for the respective architectural and zoning reviews.
do we have a second?
No, oh,
Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed?
could I ask a question? You voted so fast. Don't we have to mention this pending?
No, we're approving it as is. If they have an issue, they can come back to us and we'll try to
So
find the
the-
solution.
This would go to the trustees and the trustees will handle this question of the insurance. We don't have to worry about.
Well, I would likely verify the insurance before it goes before the board. So
Right,
I'll
so
work with the
trustees will
McSpaddens to,
handle that matter, not us.
yeah, I'll work with the McSpaddens to verify that we're on the same page with the insurance.
Okay, aye.
Okay, unanimously passes.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you,
Thank
Nate, for
you.
all your help.
Yep, we'll talk soon. Thanks, Bruce.
All right, bye-bye.
All right. Next, I think you're still up, Nate.
Yeah, so this next one is a application, architectural and zoning application for shed construction at 7060 Oak Street. And I apologize, Danny, I didn't put your name in here because I've been talking with Mike mostly, but Danny Haynes and Michael Lloyd are the applicants here, and they're just wanting to put a fairly straightforward shed on the rear of their and it basically, I don't know if it's attached technically, but on directly adjacent to the rear of their attached garage wall. So it's pretty straightforward here, except for the fact that these two parcels, they live essentially on two parcels here. We can see on the aerial. And the parcels have been essentially to this point treated as one parcel. I've included some septic records just to show that basically you can see here the house, the shed as it is would not meet this side setback variance because of this property line, but they own both of these parcels. And in fact, the septic system for the property has been installed on this other parcel. So they've essentially, these two parcels have essentially been treated as one in terms of prior development, essentially. Furthermore, I am working with them to combine these parcels, which would clear up all setback issues moving forward. The way that they're situated now with the septic on one and the home on the other, they really couldn't be sold separately anyway. And so I'm just kind of recommending to move forward with this architectural and zoning application, and then I'll work with them to do a parcel combination similar to what we did for Mike and Margaret on their property for their garage. And that was more important because would have been an accessory structure on a parcel without a primary structure. In this case, it's just a small accessory structure that's, relatively low impact, I should say.
Lisa?
Could you just use your cursor and just point to where it's going to be? Is it on the blue line?
Yeah,
It's
sorry.
going to be along, whoa, no,
It's going to be back
pointer.
here. I've got another site plan map as well that's in there, but it's basically
So
the
just right back there. Okay,
it's basically right
you.
here.
okay, great.
So if we look at this is the ILC document that they had that actually shows part of the actual main building encroaching on that other parcel as well. So I've talked to them about just for long-term benefit and simplicity, perhaps moving forward with the combination of the parcels. And I just wanted to verify that for Mike and Margaret's, that all that went through. I know it was recorded properly, but I haven't seen the results from the El Paso County yet. So I want to make sure that all that was done properly, and then we can essentially mimic that process for this. Like I said, 4x12 lean-to shed against the back of the garage here. The materials are a siding that was, I think, what'd you say, Sunset? I don't know if that was finalized from Sunset or another, but right. Right. And Mike was just saying, yeah, basically like a 30-year warranted siding. So really,
Is it fire resistant?
I don't think it's necessarily, composite or fire resistant. It's basically like a wood, 30-year warranty wood siding painted to match the house, and then with standard shingles on top. So pretty, significantly heavy duty shed.
Other questions, commissioners?
So this would be in the back of the property facing the creek, I believe. Have you had any issues with water coming up to the house?
We never have, no, but what we'll do is once we get this far, we'll take it to the flood people, and we've done this before because we started this process a while ago. And they have very minimal, I think it's like they have attached the shed to.
Uh,
I don't even know, but we will.
Anchor it.
They're that's the right one. Yeah.
And speaking of flood, I think that's a whole nother topic. I think Pikes Peak Regional is not in the business of managing the entire floodplain in the county anymore. So there's there's a disconnect, I think, there right now. And I don't know if the town has to assume responsibility for that or what, but that's something that's a recent development.
Other questions? Are we ready for a motion?
Yes, I move to approve this shed as presented.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously.
Thanks, Danny. Good to see you. All right, so this next one, this is one that has been going on for a long time. Over a year. Victor Matthews came to the town and his contractor, Richard Shepherd, is also online. But basically Victor came to the town to want to build a shed on the rear of his residential property that is adjacent to the Black Bear property. He just lives up behind it. And the design had an encroachment into the Black Bear parcel. So we went back and forth trying to figure some things out, but basically the bottom line is that either the deck needed to be redesigned so as not to encroach over the parcel line or the property boundary, or that property boundary would need to move. So that was just, it's been a long road of kind of back and forth, trying to figure out what exactly needs to be done. Richard Shepherd with Kruger Construction took on the project recently and has moved it ahead. And the outcome is basically a new subdivision. Our code is a little bit lacking in terms of what is a minor versus major subdivision, but it does say that minor subdivisions, which I categorized this into, need to abide by the final plat procedure and not a preliminary plat procedure. So like for a major subdivision, if someone was coming in here and subdividing a 5-acre parcel into smaller parcels with no infrastructure, and all those things needed to be developed right away, deeded to the town, etc. That would be a major subdivision, which would require a preliminary plat to come to the planning commission for approval, and then work through that process with back and forth, and then eventually have a final plat that's approved. In this case, there was no definition of a minor subdivision, so I took the liberty of defining it as such, just because it's, there's 3 parcels essentially that are being replatted into 2 parcels. The benefit to the residential parcel is this ability to develop in the backyard, put this deck in. And there's also a benefit to the Black Bear parcels by combining those two. As we look here, parcel C and parcel B, this is the Black Bear Distillery. This is the parking lot essentially. There's actually an easement here for a septic field that is used for lot 4 here, which is an unrelated party. So it's a very messy area here. This subdivision will essentially clean this up, and then I'll show you how it's finally platted here. But basically, it will combine the 2 Black Bear Distillery parcels into one, so that at least this septic field is on 1 parcel and not 2 parcels. And then of course we have this proposed deck here that will gain this entire section here, and then clear all the setbacks to eliminate the need for variances. And so this drawing here, I'll go to the next one. It might be a little easier. It's in color. Maybe not, but it shows the measurements here. So we have this measurement of 10.4 feet from the deck to the side. So that clears that side setback. We've got 13.6 on the back, on the rear setback. And then I believe this 26.9 is the measurement on this other side setback. And the front setback is not a concern. So they've worked with a surveyor to put together this documentation. It's basically replatting these 3 parcels. The document describes how these, basically it gives the legal descriptions of the 3 parcels as they exist now, and then it goes on to illustrate that. So these are the 3 parcels as they exist today. And then this final plat here is how they will be subdivided. And so you can see the septic field here for reference. And then basically this will be recorded as the Black Bear subdivision, lot 1 and lot 2. The actual approval for the deck as the architectural and zoning review is a separate item, so we can discuss this item now if you have any questions.
So is this considered commercial or residential?
Well, the zoning on the Black Bear is commercial business zoned and the other parcels residential.
But we're combining them,
No,
correct?
no,
We're just
the-
replatting them.
these 2 commercial parcels are being combined,
Okay,
and then this residential parcel is staying
separate.
separate.
Okay.
They're making a little pocket.
For the,
Yeah. And that's why it's called a subdivision, because of the 2 different zoning and.
Well, it's
Rather
more for recording, because basically what'll happen is this will get recorded, and then the El Paso County sites will be updated with this information. It will be referenced as, lot 1 of Black Bear subdivision as recorded on document number, blah, blah, blah. So that document then can be referenced to see this plat and the exact measurements of the lots, and that's used as reference for future surveys and things like that. But the way it'll show on the El Paso County Assessor site when it gets updated is, Black Bear subdivision, lot 1 and lot 2.
so is there any downside to doing all this? Any disadvantage?
I don't see any. I mean, it's basically, Mr. Matthews owns both parcels, so we decided that, I consulted the attorney early on, just going through all the different options and possibilities and how to get this deck built without complication, but because they are different zoning districts, it couldn't be a simple agreement with himself, or it couldn't be a combination because of the 2 zoning districts. So this is really the only way to go about it.
Questions?
He really wants this deck.
I see he does. Questions, commissioners, anybody?
Yeah, the unplatted tracks on either side, is that just city property?
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
just
property.
saying that the surveyor didn't
Oh, okay.
He didn't do anything.
describe
Okay.
this or show this in detail, but
Okay.
I think, it doesn't affect those tracks at all, so.
Just a code clarification question, Nate, is the side setback 5 or 10 feet?
That depends on the size of the parcel. So in that 5,000 square foot residential zone, the sides are 5. And then as soon as it moves up to that 10,000, that's when they expand to 10 feet.
Rocco?
So do we make the final decision or do we recommend to the trustees?
Yeah, it's, you recommend, and then it still goes to the trustees as well.
More questions? Are we ready for a motion?
I move to recommend approval to the trustees for the application for the Black Bear subdivision.
Second,
Second,
all in favor, aye.
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 It passes.
All right, thank you. And so the next item is the actual deck design application for that. So it's at this point, assuming the subdivision passes the board and there's no complications with that, then this is essentially a straightforward architectural and zoning application for the deck itself, which I'll show you the information for. I don't know if we've seen the aerial, but anyway, you can't see the house too well, but this is the Matthews house. And then so the deck is going out back here, kind of an angle, so it's kind of looking towards the lake. And then there's this description page showing the actual deck measurements and all the materials here.
Are they fire resistant materials?
I don't, let's see, it says, it's basically all pressure treated wood, I believe.
I looked up the Fortress Caribbean Coral. It's a composite decking.
So it would be fire resistant or no?
On the decking. It's,
If I could chime in.
yes,
This is Richard, the project manager. The Fortress composite decking is, it meets the fire code requirements to be built in Colorado Springs proper and within El Paso County. And the pressure treated lumber, I'm not sure as to the fire resistance rating that it has, but it's the standard framing material for pretty much all ground contact exterior projects in the state. So I'm confident that it's very fire resistant. Otherwise, we would probably be using something else like steel.
So you're saying the composite material would meet UE codes or no?
It does.
Yes.
Okay. Because inside Colorado Springs isn't. either.
As well as El Paso County. So
Okay.
and the Kruger brothers have, they have already obtained a town business license, and this project has been submitted to Pikes Peak Regional. So we're just kind of waiting for this subdivision process to go through so that we can proceed, or they can proceed with the project.
So the motion that's needed is, we can go ahead and approve a deck. We don't have to send that to BOT. So
I recommended in my report, just approve contingent on, all the subdivision. I just said subject to proof of recording, basically, because that's the kind of the mechanism that lets us know as staff that that subdivision process has been completed and recorded with the county.
that makes sense. Do we have a motion?
I move to approve the deck construction subject to proof of recording of the Black Bear subdivision plat as submitted.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 All right. Well, thank you, Richard, for being on the meeting, and we'll talk more. The next board meeting is next Tuesday, so I'll send you information on that as well.
thank you, everyone, and especially Nate for all your hard work on this. I know this has been a process and I just really appreciate it.
No problem. Thank you.
Good job, Nate. You got real creative with us.
It was just a long process. I think they've had the materials for,
They've been sitting in the yard for about a year and a half.
Wow.
Oh, my goodness.
Thank you, everyone.
thanks. Have a good
Thank
night.
you. All right, next on our agenda is the land use code adoption timeline, correct?
Yes, this is the timeline that Austin sent via email, just as a suggestion. I don't know if everyone has seen it or not. But there it is. Let me see what's on the, yeah, that's it. So this is the entire timeline snapshot that he has proposed. And I've got a report a little bit later down the agenda just to say where he is in the process, but it sounds like he's making good progress so far. And then this would necessitate switching of a couple of meetings. Basically, that December 6th would be planning commission instead of board of trustees. And yeah, so you can see there, the 6th would be the planning commission, the 13th would be the board of trustees, assuming everything goes smoothly between now and then we would, if it's approved by then, we would be well within our, not only the deadline of the grant, but also that 90-day closeout period of the grant as well. So this does leave a little bit of a buffer.
We need it. Okay, so the 18th is when we'll have the draft to us, October 18th. And then the November 18th is when the town sends summary list of public engagement comments. So we need to have had that public engagement to have those comments the previous 2 weeks or so, to work backwards on this. We'll have the draft on the 11th of October. So really, we could begin inviting public when he's there presenting this on the 11th. Does that make sense, or does it need to stay internal?
I think, well, I think he plans on being at the 11th
Yes, he does.
meeting. So,
He does.
so we can have questions for him at that time, and then whatever revisions come out of that. I guess I'm not exactly sure what is meant by the internal working group, but I guess
What is that?
The commission, I
Okay.
believe he's referring to.
each of you can kind of review it independently, but yeah, but it would
Yeah,
be good
that's
to,
only a week later, so.
but it would be good to schedule some sort of, maybe on the 25th, October 25th is the 4th Tuesday, so that could potentially be a public meeting. The 18th is probably a board of trustees meeting.
Well, the 18th is when we're supposed to have all these comments already to him,
No.
so.
He's talking about October.
Right, but I'm saying if we do October 25th, November 18th is when we're supposed to have the comments to him, so one of our regular meeting would be on the 14th of November, correct? That's the second Tuesday. I'm sorry, Monday. No, it'd be the 15th.
Yeah. The 15th.
No, it'd be the 8th. The 8th would be our normal meeting,
Yeah,
because that's
sorry.
the second Tuesday. So we could meet with the public again. We could meet with them on the 25th of October and meet with them again November 8th, correct? With our regular meeting, and that would get us to the deadline that we would then be able to send him the summary list of the public comments by the 18th. Does that make sense? That'd be 2 different public meetings.
That's good.
Yeah.
25th. Mhm. That would be the last Tuesday. It's a really fun week because it would be what, Thanksgiving week or? Oh, October, right. So we should be good with the 25th.
Is it October 25th or the 22nd? I don't have a calendar with me.
22nd is the 25th is the Tuesday. 22nd is a Saturday in October. So it'd be October 25th would be the public meeting. And a second one, November 8th. How would we need to publicize those meetings? I guess we could start publicizing them now.
Yeah, just normal Facebook or post office, whatever, website.
Yes,
I
Yeah.
was just gonna, this thing about internal drafting policy questions to be emailed to internal working group. Does that mean that each one of us can write internally on our own to Austin without me?
he will be sending us the revised draft based on his meeting with us on the 11th.
But in between now and then, I just noted that you and Lisa have had some communications. Are you kind of directing all the contact with him personally outside of meetings? That's what
Nate-
we shouldn't do that.
Well, we have to because we can't all meet because then it's not a public meeting.
If you have a question, like you did, your little letters here, when you had a question to him about the fence, can each of us ask a question like that
Of course,
outside of our meetings?
of course.
Okay, that's what I wondered when he said, internal policy questions.
That is this
Puts all of
group.
us.
That is this group.
So if we had a little question between meetings, we could ask him,
Mhm.
but we wouldn't ask everybody at once. Is that? how
No,
that
that's
works?
not, yeah, you can't include
We just
everybody.
have to ask him
That's correct.
or two people,
Right.
like you and Lisa did.
Correct.
Oh, so complicated.
It is. But anyway, everybody's clear with our time frame.
Okay, then November 18th is just a
That should be
timeline. So
good.
physical meetings that we need to know about are, could you recap that?
Do it again.
Yes. So today is September 13th. We will have another meeting on September 27th. And in between time, I'm trying to get as much information from him that we need to answer because there'll be something we'll discuss tonight so that we can stay ahead of this project and not wait until he shows up, on the 11th and we have 80 million questions to answer. So I want to try to parcel it out. So our next meeting, to go back to the original question, is September 27th, which is a Tuesday. And that meeting will be to cover, just like we are tonight, citizens' issues and questions and applications, as well as any work that he gives us in the meantime to work on this. So we're ready for him. Okay, so that's the 27th. The next meeting will be our regular meeting on October the 11th, where Austin will attend. So we've only got tonight and one more meeting in between, and then Austin's going to be here. So, and he will be on that night presenting the draft to the Planning Commission. And this will be our chance to say, we don't like this, we do like this, and discussion of any remaining issues that he still has questions about that we have to answer. So that'll be on the 11th. To continue our calendar list, the 25th, October 25th is one of our public meetings where we'll invite the public and they will see. On the 18th, he's going to send us the revised draft. So we have, I guess we'll just get that via email. And then on the 25th, we can meet on the 18th if y'all want to with this revised draft. Do we feel like we need to?
Well, there might be a trustee meeting, right?
Is that a trustee
Which-
meeting?
I'm sorry, which date?
18th.
The 18th of
Of October.
October. And that's the day he's gonna send that draft to the internal
Yeah,
working
there's-
group.
Most likely a board meeting that night.
So presumably that comes to all of us via email. And then on the 25th of October, we will be having a public meeting to present this. And on November 8th, we will have our regular meeting as well as a public meeting to again present this and get public comment both times. Both on the 25th and the 8th, we will be getting public comment. And then we send the summary list of those public comments. Those are due to Austin by the 18th of November. Do we need a meeting on the 15th? We probably do, to get ready what we're going to send him. And that's not a regular meeting for us. Because the 8th would be our regular meeting. Do y'all want to meet again on the 15th?
Another board?
That'll be probably a board meeting as
meeting?
well.
Okay. So hopefully on the night of the 8th, we can sort of summarize and decide what we're going to send him. And it'll be due by the 18th. We presumably could get it to him sooner. I suppose if we have so much public comment that a lot of changes need to be made, we may have to have a meeting in the meantime. But we could call that as needed, right?
Yes.
Okay, so then our next meeting is really,
Who's revising the draft on November? Is that Austin?
he is,
That's so
Austin is.
Okay, that'll be his deadline.
This will be the draft that can be posted for the 12/6 meeting, which is really not one of our meetings.
That's
Is
that's
that
when
a
it gets
switch? Is that
switched.
one of our switches?
Mhm.
Okay, so 12/6 will be planning commission. This means we so far are only having one meeting in November. Do we need more than one? We have one on the 8th.
Seems weird.
Do we want to do the 22nd? We will have already turned in the comments and everything. The previous Friday.
No, because you know what, holiday and all that.
Yeah, it's Thanksgiving. That's Thanksgiving
So
week.
Everybody's gonna be down. and, you
Yeah,
know,
okay.
So-
So we'll just do one in November
We can play it by ear.
unless we have to call one.
Right.
And so then our next meeting will be the 6th of December. And we have to do that one because that's the planning commission adoption hearing and we're trading with BOT. They're going to have our regular night on the 13th.
Yeah, and there'll have to be actual public notice posted for those. So essentially those will be, publicized public meetings as well. I mean, just a little bit extra notification on those than normal meetings. And then also, I believe once the board, it has to come before the board in ordinance form. So all ordinances have to, I think, come before the board at least twice. And then there's a period, like a 30-day period after the second appearance as well. So there's going to be a lot of opportunity for public comments throughout this whole.
So who has to come to a meeting on the 9th of December? Revised draft per PC hearing. This will
I
be the
think
draft
that's-
that can be posted for the 12/13.
I think that's a deadline for him
For him. Okay.
to, then that draft can be whatever, if any changes come out of the PC meeting, then he does that. And then that final hopefully is presented to the board.
So the board will meet on the 13th. And hopefully a adopted? Is this, or is this a first meeting and then they'll have to have a second one?
I think what I clarify this, but I think that is sort of a conceptual approval of it. And then once the board sort of gives that approval, then that's when we have to actually, and we could maybe have it in ordinance form by then as well. But I think either way, there's going to be at least one, if not two meetings after that 13th meeting where it comes before the board as an actual ordinance and an actual draft, official. I mean, it'll be pretty much in a final draft form at that point, but it'll have to be just all the ordinances and things drafted. So if there's not a lot of back and forth and changes and last minute things going on, then in theory, I think that 13th date could be the first reading of the ordinance to update the code. And then there would have to be a second reading at a subsequent meeting, which I don't know if that would make sense to do over the holiday there, or just wait to have a second reading in January. We'd still be within our 90-day closeout period.
Would we? You don't have to have it approved by
No,
December 31st?
no, the deadline is just spending money. So all
So if
the
we have
work,
to go back to the attorney for any reason after the 31st, that's when we're in trouble.
not
go ahead.
necessarily, that's the state funds, so we still have the Kirkpatrick.
Yeah. Yeah.
Cushion, if
Yeah.
you will. Right, and if it's just a few hours, then the town eats that or whatever, but
Okay.
I think this is laid out pretty well.
Okay. Is there any action we need to take on this, or?
I don't think so.
So I can send an email out with all these dates for everybody in case you didn't catch all that as I verbally went through it.
And just,
Send an email anyway. That's a good idea.
I guess to continue the discussion, the next item was just an update from Austin from last week. Just saying he's billed, and we actually did receive the invoice after I spoke, or after Austin and I emailed, but 17.9 hours at 195 an hour. So that price increase they mentioned is for next year, I'm assuming, or sometime soon. So we haven't hit that increase quite yet, which is nice. And so he says, I finished articles 1 through 3, about halfway through the development standards. Still have to work through procedures, definitions, and et cetera. And then tonight we do actually have his draft of the zone districts. So that'll be nice to have that to review. And
Which, thank you very much, Nate, for printing out for each of us. So we have it, everybody has it at their place. And he wanted us, Austin wanted us to take a look at this and see if we have comments back to him. And the discussion is included here, the email discussion, the one question. Y'all may have other questions. That was the question I thought of, and it would save time to go ahead and get the answer from him instead of all of us wondering this evening. And Todd, maybe we need some comments from you, because simultaneous with this, y'all are working on the short-term rental codes, and we need to be coordinated to have consistency, I think. Gotten that far? I'm a little worried about that.
I think either way, we'll have, either on both of those cases, we'll have ordinances that need to modify the code. So there's going to be, mandatory review and built into that, so I think the level that we're all tuned into that issue right now, I think it'll be fine. Yeah, and Austin is speaking with Katie in the office, and so I think they're
They're trying to coordinate.
yeah,
but
they're
they aren't far enough along yet to really know, so.
right.
And
Yeah,
I
they
didn't know if
need-
Todd could tell us any more or not.
There hasn't been any action on the short-term rental. There has been, we've received some comments back that we've forwarded on to the board and just saved in the folder, for public feedback, but the board hasn't met for, seems like forever, but they'll be meeting next week, so there'll be a lot more clarification at that time.
So you kind of know, Todd, what the comments are. Okay, well, if you see us getting off track from the direction you see it going, that would be helpful. Sure. Well, we're doing, I mean, we had codes in there like by how many parking places and all that kind of stuff. So I just didn't know how much that was going to get into y'all's space. Okay.
I do have some questions. And we reference off to the land use code because of the non-conformance type items. Does that get us into a natural conflict? But that's something I have to resolve as we get on it.
Okay. Okay. Well, let's start looking at the paperwork in front of us tonight, and just kind of run through this. This is what he's put together so far. He explained that he was doing this based on the work that had already been done, plus our current code, and trying to modify it with an eye towards simplicity for a rural mountain town. So this is the goal that he has here. And I'd like for the commissioners to look at this and see if you feel like he's accomplished this, or if there's some areas where you have questions or concerns or feedback for him. And let's just start with page 1, table 2-1 zoning districts. Lisa.
So historic preservation overlay to me implies it's an area, and this just says just the structures. So it doesn't really apply to an area, right?
It would be an option for someone to request that, their property be zoned with this overlay in addition to whatever primary zone they're in. But the intent is focused on structures.
Okay.
Historic structures.
So the overlay concept is just, it's overlaid everything else. And so anything could fit into that category,
Okay.
and it would be a structure.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yep.
Other questions? Or comments about this first page?
I-
Anne?
On the historic thing, what is the benefit of that? Do we understand why?
I think it's
So
just a
such
mechanism for, let's say, Christian Cassie wanted to forever preserve that Victorian house that he has on Park in Illinois or whatever that street is. He could request that the town zone that with this historic overlay, and that would then, whatever rules apply under that historic overlay then would carry forth through subsequent owners of that property.
The benefit would be probably preservation of the structure.
Yeah.
But the individual would request it.
Mhm.
Yes, the town is not going
And of
to
course,
force
he can't-
anyone
he
to
can't
do
that
this.
For any of those properties because he didn't preserve them as built. It's
Okay.
too late.
Yeah, I don't know, but
The thing that comes to mind, just as a preservation overlay, was the Stilling Basin. That's where the hotel was. And that's what my mind just keeps thinking. That's where the old hotel was, but it wasn't. Anyway. Yeah, item. Yeah, okay. So a place isn't really historic in that. Okay, duh. Okay, never mind. Moving on.
I mean,
Moving on.
That's what we're here. That's what we're here for, is to think of all the options and possibilities. Do we have another question over here?
No, I was just talking about the gazebo.
What else does everyone see on this first page? Anything that we need to give feedback to Austin about? Mike, do you have any thoughts?
No, I don't have any questions on page one.
Okay, are we ready to go to the next page? Table 3-1, permitted uses table.
And it looked, just a cursory glance, it looked like he took some of the markups that we had done on that other draft and
Mhm.
put them into here. The MX1 is basically what we had as commercial last time. Or on that other draft.
Oh, yeah, it's
Um,
not, oh, yeah, there it is. Mixed use.
And then again, the C is conditional use, so if someone wanted to do one of those uses in that zone district, they would have to come to the town to request that and get a conditional use permit.
So do you think this is very much changed, or he just formatted it into the chart?
I think the
didn't
biggest
notice.
changes are the definitions of the zone districts themselves, the way that they're worded. And from what I can tell, I'm, not an expert, but it seems to be kind of the more modern, more flexible kind of code or district definitions.
I have.
And where it's blank, it's not allowed, is that correct?
Right.
Correct.
So a fourplex dwelling is not allowed in R1. The
Correct.
way I interpret that.
Yeah. Yeah.
None of those are allowed in open space.
Correct.
Where it says manufactured home park, and then out to the right, it says 3-B1A. What does that mean? I was trying. to
Oh,
see that
referencing that like that, an Article 3, Section B,
in
whatever, in the code that he's, in the draft that he's working on. So I don't know what exactly
It's
that
not
is.
the one Nina did.
No, I think he has his own, a new
He has
structure,
another idea.
Mhm.
that we
pretty
don't
sure.
see yet.
There's an asterisk here. Oh, what is
He
that?
said that's,
It says uses with an asterisk, are use specific standards apply? Use specific standards apply.
that would mean further regulation probably.
So that would,
Okay.
I guess, mean that somewhere in here, we would have a standard to a manufactured home park that would be above and beyond, I don't know, a typical manufactured home park. I don't know. Yeah, so whatever that says, yeah.
Yeah.
That's an interesting question.
Adult entertainment.
that we'll have to-
Didn't we say we're not gonna have a nursing home? Is that my
A
memory
nursing
failing?
home is
Yeah,
permitted.
where is it? Daycare?
He's allowing it in R2 and it's used by right. It's not even conditional. You don't have to come to the city and talk to us about it. So I don't know.
They would have to come to
I
the.
think that ought to be
planning
a C.
commission.
So maybe we want that changed?
Yeah.
We don't want that changed. Todd, speak. By law, we can't.
He can't speak.
Can't speak of what he knows.
So we'll speak up.
So this doesn't make sense.
Mhm.
Or it could be, or,
By right, not even conditional?
Yeah, that needs, I say we change to a C.
Well, if he could explain a little better about by right, doesn't that still leave the door open for them with a plan to come to the commission and the trustees and say, here's our plan, and you would have the right to review it.
That's the
No.
conditional use.
That's conditional.
That's what we're talking about, changing it to conditional.
If it was non-conditional, we just said you can have a
They
nursing
could
home.
just
There's
have
no.
it any old way they wanted.
That
it.
is
Right,
correct.
That's correct.
That's the way he's currently got it.
That's what those,
I didn't
that's what the,
understand that.
yeah, that's what the X's mean, used by right.
Small group home, same situation. Multifamily dwelling, same situation. Fourplex, same situation.
And if you go back up,
Triplex, same situation. Duplex, same situation in both R1 and R2.
Well, you see, he has, we left out medical facility and said we didn't want it. He has it by right.
I think, a lot of these things are, I mean, I don't know. I don't know what I'm trying to say, but possible. They're not out of the realm of possibility that someone could come in and want to put in a little clinic or something, or,
Why
so I think that he's, and, most probably consultants in this realm would not want to outright, wouldn't want to exclude sort of uses that are pretty typical or
like urgent
common.
care or something. you
Why
know,
not
we don't know.
conditional use though, where they'd have to come to us and talk to us about it? Why not?
That's
That doesn't
definitely
exclude it.
right. Yeah, that's definitely an option to go.
So what I'm hearing from this group, and y'all correct me if I have misheard this, but we would like to have conditional use on a nursing home, a small group home, also conditional,
Yes,
multifamily dwelling, conditional.
yes.
I don't agree with all that.
No,
Well, you just got through saying you wanted them to come to us first, and
Yeah.
that's what we're saying we would like to
that's what
require.
conditional means.
That's what conditional
okay.
means.
They were not excluding them.
That is
No,
correct.
No,
Okay, that's all I was
absolutely not.
concerned about.
All right,
The blank ones are excluded.
The blink. Okay.
I guess.
Rocco?
Well, for the multifamily dwelling, if we
Mhm,
move that to conditional, I guess in the R2,
mhm.
would we also want to do the fourplex and the triplex
Yes,
and the duplex?
I was
Yes.
working my way up to it.
Oh, okay.
Yes,
Maybe we should start at the top and work down.
okay.
Duplex in R1 and R2, do we want that to be conditional? Or is that just by right? If you buy the land, you can build a duplex? What is the commission's thought about that? I was working toward the hard ones.
And the other thing to consider is where these zones will be. I mean, 95% of the town is R1 right now, so they're only, and I can bring out the map, or bring it up here. But there's very limited space that's R2
Well,
currently.
and Nate makes a very good point. The whole point of an R2 district, it's intended to accommodate medium density residential uses with a range of accessory, institutional, and community facility uses. So it's sort of intended to be some of these one-offs.
Like next door here should be R2. And that already has, it's two different, I don't know what, townhomes, basically, fourplex townhomes.
Did
That
they have
should,
to get a permit and did they have to come to?
right now it's zoned as planned unit development. And I think my understanding from Austin last time, I think we talked about that, was that that's kind of a placeholder for allowing development, but really it should have been, once the development was finalized into what it was going to be, then it should have really been rezoned to R2 to match up with what the use ended up being. But all that to say too is that part of this whole process is also going to be a rezoning of the town. So at that point, the decision can be made, where is R2? It could be very limited. It doesn't have, it's not going to be all throughout the town like R1 is, which is the default basically.
So if you buy land in R1, does anybody here have an issue with you can build a duplex or a triplex on it without any conditions?
I had a question about the triplex. I think that should be conditional for R1.
Okay,
Yeah, I agree.
all right. So for R2, does anybody have an issue with buying land and you can put a duplex or a triplex on it with no conditions?
I think that's okay.
That's kind of what it's made for, right?
Mhm.
Okay. Fourplex, R2, no conditions? Are we good with
No,
that?
do condition. Conditional maybe.
What's everybody else say?
Is that starting to get kind of big?
Okay.
And then multifamily, that's undefined, like 50 families.
Well, he'll probably have
I mean-
definitions. He's working on definitions, so probably they'll be there,
So that I would say
but
conditional.
still
also.
conditional.
Yes, I would, yes.
Group home in R2, conditional, group large and small, conditional. Manufactured home park, conditional in R2, nursing home, conditional in R2. Okay, let's go down to public institution. Is everybody okay with that? What I've
Yes.
just
Yeah,
described?
But
And I can,
before you move down though, if we
Yeah.
go back to dwelling, single family detached and dwelling attached, those are both used by right for R1 and R2. The mixed use, the MX1,
Mhm.
I think we have, it says dwellings, duplex and triplex are both conditional in that mixed use. And I think the single family detached and attached should also be conditional for the MX1.
So if somebody wants to live in a mixed use and build a house there, then
Yeah.
who are we to say they can't?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's conditional. All right,
Yeah.
got it.
Yeah.
What about the manufactured home park? I thought we eliminated that. Is that-
I thought so too, Mike.
Should we be blank there or no?
What does everybody say? What do y'all think?
What the heck is it?
Depends on what you mean by manufactured home.
Well, we know what a manufactured home is, right?
Not really. It's a very general term.
In
He'll have
theory,
definitions.
I'm thinking of trailer parks.
Well, me too.
Mhm.
We'll have definitions for these and he hasn't provided those.
Yeah, trailer park. I think
No, I
that's.
suppose,
yeah.
like the home up here that was just built on the highway, that's a manufactured home. It was pulled in there. And
Mhm.
so I
We're doing a
suppose
lot
that
of
would be in
those.
that class, but what I'm thinking
see.
more of is a trailer park.
Yeah, the park, the word park.
Yeah. Right now, he's got it conditional in R2. What does everybody else think?
Why?
Mhm.
I don't think that's a great,
I think it should be conditional.
Okay, so Mike and Lisa want it gone.
we want it
Rocco?
gone.
I think it needs to be defined to have a real discussion about it.
And he'll provide the definitions. He hasn't provided those yet.
So just circle that one for.
I'll have a
pending.
question mark for the definition.
Yeah, pending mark, pending.
Okay, public institutional and civic uses, art gallery, museum and library, mixed use is
Yes.
by right, no condition. Everybody okay with that?
Mhm.
Community center is conditional in R2 and by right in mixed use. Community garden is by right in R1, R2 and mixed use.
That's a new one that he put in, I think.
What is a community garden?
Yeah, we need the definition. I
I'll put a
think it should
question
just
mark
be
there.
Mixed use.
You think it just should be in the mixed
Well, rather
use?
than have your backyard be the whole community coming to your backyard. I mean, turning your backyard into that in a residential.
Maybe conditional.
Yeah,
if-
conditional.
If you want to turn your backyard into a
Correct.
community garden.
Correct. I'm thinking conditional R1, R2.
Okay, anybody disagree with that? Daycare facility is mixed use only. And it's by right. Do we want that conditional?
That may be.
I think we had it before.
By right or
It's
conditional?
conditional.
That's what I thought. I thought we had it
Mhm.
conditional.
I think it was conditional.
Anybody disagree with making that conditional?
No.
Funeral home
Boy,
by right, do we want that conditional?
yes,
We might need one.
that could be sensitive.
And keep in mind too, these uses will all have development standards so that there's gonna be definitions for, you can't just build something without review, right? So there's gonna be, if someone wants to come and put a daycare facility, and build it, or even switch uses to it, there will likely have to be like ingress, egress, parking, things like that. So just.
Yeah, I just can imagine
Mhm.
townspeople saying they're building a funeral home and we have no say.
Right.
I think
right.
there
Or
might,
daycare or a
be-
Casino or what.
yeah, some issues with that.
Mhm.
If they follow all the rules that we have, they can build it with no discussion.
Mhm.
The public could still come to the public meeting, I guess. and
Or
say,
there wouldn't be one. That's the whole
Mm-mm.
point. If it's
"We're
by right,
Limiting it.
no.
before the
If you have an
public
X
knows.
on there, that's by right and then they build it.
No, I know, but if you take it out, then the public doesn't get to consider that at all, right? 'Cause
If
we're
you
making
leave
that
the
decision.
X,
We're making
the
that
public does
decision
not get to have any say.
If you leave it blank.
No,
No,
if you
the
leave
X.
the X, the public has zero say. If you make it conditional with a C, then there's
The
the
public has
possibility of
a-
a discussion.
Yes.
Oh, I thought you were gonna take it out completely.
No.
No.
Oh,
More discussion. Do y'all want? How do y'all, Mike, Rocco, how do y'all feel about the daycare and funeral home?
I think it ought to be C.
See, Rocco? You okay with that?
I think daycare should be use by right, funeral home conditional.
Okay, I've got 2 use by right. I have 2 Cs on the daycare center. I guess I'm the tiebreaker.
Hmm.
I tend to go with the conservative C of I can't think of everything that could go wrong there, and I'd like the public to be able to have input. So I guess I would have a C there. Medical facility, we're sort of in the same neighborhood. Do we want just by right, you come in and build it,
Mhm.
or do we want? And the other question with this whole thing, guys, is sort of what Nate already brought up, mixed use. I doubt we have a lot of that space. So this is sort of,
Academic.
yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. So that's another thing to keep in mind. Medical facility,
C.
C, how about y'all? By right or conditional? Does the public have a vote or do they just get to build it?
what is this is like if they're gonna build a building.
A medical facility,
It's
correct?
not-
You see how it comes in and wants to
it's not
build
an
a
outpatient
clinic.
and
We don't know
everything
what it
involved.
is. It's just a medical facility and I doubt the code limits the size, but maybe it does, probably height and some things like that. But
Or it could be like if the old fire station sold again,
Mhm.
that's
Be
a
it-
pretty good spot for.
Yeah.
I like C for medical facility because it could be like medical marijuana, right?
Yep.
okay, good point.
Yep.
All right, that's 3 of us. That's easy. I don't have to vote. Parks and open space by right everywhere. I'm good with that. Are y'all?
Yeah, we can have a park in a residential area. Yes.
Places of worship are in residential R1,
Mhm.
R2, and
mixed,
mixed use.
but not in the open space, which is fine.
Anybody have an issue with that? Anybody want that conditional? Or is it okay by right? A school is conditional in R2 by right in mixed use. Anybody got an issue with that?
Does that include tutoring or?
Yeah, what kind of school? Like if,
Yeah, it'd be nice if you'd included the definitions, but still, it's good for us all to talk about the concepts.
yeah, satanic worship school or something. I don't know. I mean, there's crazy people. Crazy people.
So mixed use C, you vote for C. What about you, Mike?
I'm okay with C.
C, anybody else C on a school?
For the mixed use,
Yeah.
I think by right.
Ann, what's your vote?
I agree with.
Oh,
Rocco.
gosh, I have to be the tiebreaker again. I hate that. I always go conservative. I'll go C. And if we get a definition and we all want to change our
Yeah,
minds,
yeah.
fine. All right, here we go with commercial uses, adult entertainment. We've got a conditional on mixed use. Do we want
We
to just?
already have adult entertainment. We don't need it anymore.
We do?
We did the moose. Yeah,
The moose?
yeah, I mean, you know,
What goes on there? So-
There's no
Again, the
standard.
definitions.
well, I know, tease it.
Do we just not want to have it at all, or do we want to have the C conditional?
Boy, I think not at all. What do you think?
Conditional. You
Conditional.
never know.
Okay, I got a C,
For a pole dancer or something, you know.
I got a C and a not at all. What else? Mike's afraid to vote on this one.
I can go see on that. kind of-
Yeah,
Okay.
so,
And,
See, I don't know.
okay,
I'm
the
a not
C's
at all.
one.
yeah.
C's one on that one. Animal shelter is by right in mixed use.
Conditional, please.
I think conditional. Anybody else agree with that? Mike, okay, so that's three of us on conditional. Automotive center and services, conditional,
Leave it.
leave it. Anybody disagree? Bar or brewery is by right. You
Yeah,
can
we
come in
like
and build
those.
a bar or a
Sure.
brewery wherever you want. Everybody good with that?
I think it ought to be conditional.
Okay, we have one conditional. Any more?
We're in the mixed use now. We're not in a residential area.
And we got one. Okay, I think
X's have it.
it's by right.
By right.
Okay. I'm now on page 3, table 3-1 permitted uses table. We're continuing that on the third page. We got our zoning districts. Let's see, bed and breakfast, mixed use by right. I'm okay with that. Are y'all? Anybody disagree?
Mm-mm.
Business or personal service?
Before you moved on, though,
Yeah.
I think I would move to have it conditional for R1 and R2. B and
Okay.
D.
I do too.
I'm good with that. Anybody disagree?
I think we have suggested that before.
Mhm.
Business or personal service by right in mixed use. And I think we'd also
We
wanted
also
to
had that
include it
conditional.
in R2 and R1, right?
Yeah.
Conditional.
Yeah.
Fast food restaurant, by right in mixed use. I think that's good. Y'all disagree with me when you want to. Fueling station.
But we don't want a McDonald's here.
Fast food restaurant, okay. Do we want it conditional then?
I think so.
How fast food would be?
Mm-mm.
Anybody disagree with the conditional on fast food restaurant?
Yeah, chain.
We
type
want to know
things,
what
we
it
don't
is.
want that.
Yeah, we don't. Yeah. Fueling station could be
I think we
Conditional.
electric or it could be gas.
Mhm.
So is that by right or conditional?
By right.
Everybody else?
As long as it's safe.
I think gas
Very
stations
safe.
have environmental impacts.
They do.
Right.
so
I'd be
you
concerned.
Maybe
about it.
conditional on that.
Yeah,
They'd have to go through a lot of things anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure they would have to go through.
yeah, do conditional.
But then
More than-
even though they have all those regulations, how often do you end up with a dry cleaner and a gas station? They end up having environmental impact that has to be cleaned up if they have a leak. So
Mhm.
hotel or motel, mixed use by right. I'm okay with that. Anybody else? I mean, do we want a chain motel coming in?
Days in? I don't think so.
We've already,
We already have hotels and motels.
Yeah, we do have hotels and motel.
So is that conditional or no, depending on what kind?
don't, Green Mountain Falls extends across View Pass too.
There's only one parcel over there and it's pretty small and it's owned by the church and they use it for parking.
Mhm.
I don't see that.
All the Brockhurst property is not part of,
Mm,
No, there's just
you look at
one
this one.
little tiny triangle over there. Well,
Yeah.
not tiny, but
Very small.
pretty small.
Okay, hotel motel conditional or not? Y'all tell me.
No, let's leave it there.
Leave it. Okay, that's the answer I got, so I'm going on. Indoor entertainment or recreation.
Is that like pole dancing?
We're still stuck on the adult entertainment.
Indoor.
video games.
Indoor entertainment or recreation. I just can't even think of what all that could be, but that could be chain. a chain.
Bowling or.
Yeah. Do we want that conditional just to see what it is?
Yeah.
Office space. I assume that they'll have some codes around the height and all that kind of stuff, surely. Outdoor entertainment or recreation. Would that also be maybe in the open space or no?
Mm,
Yeah, I was
Mm,
thinking
yeah.
open space as well, have some kind of
yeah.
use, maybe it's accessory use or conditional use.
Okay.
Mhm, yeah.
Rodeo,
What does accessory use mean?
Additional, not like building an accessory, but additional use. Right?
It's not like it's a separate building. Accessory use can be a lot of different things.
But Rocco, you mean
Not the primary.
not primary open space? It could be used as a secondary, is another word, right?
Okay, on outdoor entertainment, I had by right on mixed use and conditional on open space. Parking garage. I think do we want that by right or conditional in mixed use? We wouldn't want somebody to just build a parking lot
Conditional for
wherever.
both of those a lot too.
Parking lot and garage conditional. Retail, small retail is conditional in R2 and by right in mixed use. I kind of like that. I'm
Yeah.
okay with that.
Yep.
Large retail is by right in mixed use.
Again, we need the definitions. These are new terms.
Is that a
We didn't-
Walmart?
Yeah, we didn't have these terms before.
Why don't we say conditional since we
Yeah.
don't know?
Yeah.
And I'll put a question mark for definition.
Mhm.
If he can define it in a way we're comfortable with, we can leave it by right. Restaurant is conditional in R2 by right in mixed use.
Mhm.
And I guess they're differentiating that from fast food. It's just a
Mhm,
restaurant.
mhm. Interesting.
So are we good to leave that by right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Self-service storage facility
Remember,
conditional.
we talked about that.
Because we have some,
Mhm.
yeah.
And then
Veterinary and animal
We also talked about that. That's a C.
veterinary and animal, that should be, veterinary and animal services definitely should be a C,
C.
right?
Yep.
Anybody disagree with that?
Yep.
Commercial wireless telecommunications service. Oh my goodness, should we be so lucky? That's a C. Communication tower. I don't know that I want that in the town, but maybe C. Major utility C. Minor utility is
This is a new term.
P. What's P?
We didn't have utilities before, I don't think.
What is P?
P, plan,
I think it's a typo.
I think it's a typo too.
yeah.
There's no P, but he probably means C since he did it everywhere.
Hmm.
Moving
Like
back
that.
up to the communication tower. would
Yes.
We want to put a conditional use for open space.
Yes.
That's a good idea.
And do we want commercial wireless telecommunications service also in open use C?
Yes,
Utility major, open use C?
no,
Minor, open use C?
maybe.
Yeah, I don't know what it is.
Solar collector, ground or building mounted,
Wow.
accessory use. And they have it in
Okay.
R1, R2 and mixed use.
What is accessory use again?
Well, that would be, I would see that as solar panels that you would put out in
yes.
your yard
Yeah.
that would collect.
But what is accessory use?
Well, that means it's maybe not part of the building. It's separate from the building.
Be something, that might be a good question. Does it seem like it's accessory use, but a little different flavor with this?
So we need to define accessory use.
Mhm.
I have no idea what it means.
We know what it used to mean. Wind, okay, so
Windmills or whatever.
wind energy conversion system, ground or building mounted. He's got, again, the same kind of deal, and we just have to define accessory use there. Okay, we're to our last page, number 4, still permitted uses table.
Got all A's in that section. We don't know what it means.
Well, and see, that's what was confusing to me that I wrote the note that Ann made reference to is this short-term rental. How is a short-term rental property accessory use? That's confusing.
That's why I say it seems to take a little bit of place.
Right.
And I think I'm good with all the temporary stuff. All right, I'll ask him about accessory use.
For the temporary use, carnival or festival. All right, open space, we have town public land open space, but we also have Red Butte, for example,
Mhm.
and we have Green Box and things like that. So carnival, festival, there's a couple other things on there for open space. But I wonder if we need a placeholder in there for it to be
Yeah,
not just prohibited, but could be a conditional use.
right. and open
Conditional. I
space,
think that's a
yeah,
great idea, Ronco.
Yeah,
Food truck, again, in the open space, conditional. Garage sale not in the open space. Seasonal sales.
not no.
What if you wanted to have
Christmas
a
trees.
Christmas or a bazaar of crafts? I mean, we kind of do that with
Tree.
our Bronc days. We kind of have set up
But not an
little
open
booths to
space.
sell
That's
things.
not an open space.
Is around the lake open space? Because they put those little booths all around the lake.
Well, it could be if we would zone it, if we would
Oh.
rezone it.
How is it zoned now? Same thing, really.
I don't think, yeah. Open space is like a field. To me.
I just figure it's open space. It's not in use otherwise. So I would like to put conditional on seasonal sales in open space. Anybody disagree with that, or does everyone disagree with that?
Oh, I'm okay.
So if I wanted to sell Christmas trees, I could put them down in the park and sell them.
Conditional. You'd have to come to the town and ask. Do you disagree?
No, I guess not.
You okay with that?
And then going back for open space under the second page of the table where it says public institutional civic uses. There's the art gallery, museum and library. I'm thinking of things like the Terrell Sky Space. Do we want to make that conditional for the open space?
Sure. That's the art gallery, museum and library,
Mhm,
conditional open space.
mhm.
Anything else?
In the community.
What about the community garden?
could
That could be conditional for open space, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Anything else? I can get this feedback to Austin. Do y'all have any other? We have questions, all
Just
that.
that we need definitions of all this.
Yeah,
Because it seems like new terminology
yeah.
a bit.
And I know he'll be providing them. So he said, I hate to give this to you.
Oh, yeah, he told us.
But yes, Todd.
Okay, we already know we're gonna have horses just right out here. I didn't see anything that would address,
Stables, horses.
yeah, horses or anything
Oh,
like
okay.
that.
And large animals.
What are you
Yeah.
talking about, Todd?
There's gonna be some horses out here.
They're doing rescue. They're doing
They're doing
rescue.
rescue horses.
On the
Yeah,
other
just
side
right
of
over
Red-
here.
Right
Yeah.
out here.
Yeah, I remember when that was put through, it's
So is this open space or where else would you want to have
zoned for
horses?
that already.
It depends on how we end up rezoning it, as
It's
open
zoned.
space or,
What, are they gonna go east of Joyland and the fire station?
yeah.
Is that
Yes.
pasture out there?
Yeah,
Yes.
there's kind of a pasture corral
It's on
area
the
out
other
there.
side of, it's on Highway 24.
How is it
That's where
currently
it's gonna
zoned?
be.
No, but
The
you mean
horse
it's,
rescue?
yeah.
How is it currently zoned?
It's not on our map.
Cause he bought it. That's what he's gonna do.
I was pretty sure I was.
And it's this side of 24, but it's
Mhm.
kind of on the over the butte. So
That's
you're
what I
sort of.
mean.
Probably
yeah,
what?
It's in that
We used
space.
to call that green imp.
Yeah.
Probably public land because that was the intention to surround the town with
Yeah.
open space. So
Right.
I
Okay.
assume it would, moving forward, it would be open space or mixed use, maybe. No, that'd be open space because the business lot ends, the parcel ends behind those buildings. And then the Red Butte parcel is very large and that would be open
Well,
space.
Yeah, when he bought that, he,
Good point, Todd. Thanks for bringing that up. So,
because it's part of
we
the-
want to have the ability, would it be
Charitable work.
conditional? We don't just want anybody to bring horses. So it's still conditional in open space, but not mixed use. Is that correct?
So we need to add it.
We could
under-
put conditional. Okay, Yeah. yeah, you could do temporary too for that.
Well, I wonder if,
Street like they do in Cripple Creek.
on this table 3, the third page where it talks about zoning districts, talks about different types of services. But I wonder if we need to add a line that says like stables, sheds and outbuildings. Just to make them potentially a conditional use in the open space.
Okay, make a category.
Right.
You might want to talk with Jesse about the plans for
Sheds.
that, because I remember reading all about it.
Well,
for
it's good
horse
that-
Rescue, they'll have to have stables.
It's good that we know a specific situation, but we don't want to create code for a specific situation. That would not be permissible.
No,
So
I
we
don't
want to
think
be
we can do
general.
that.
Yeah.
Because that was the deal.
Okay, so
Permitted.
Rocco, you said stable sheds and what else?
Outbuildings, I mean, for lack,
Outbuildings.
I don't know what a
Yeah.
better term would be,
That's a good term.
but to make that conditional in open space.
Okay, all right. Good point, Todd. Anything else that we're forgetting? Probably something.
We'll always have the chance to fix it.
It's
If it's not on here, then they've got to come
it's in
to town, right?
progress, right?
Commissioners, anything else y'all think of? Thank y'all so much for participating in this process. I really appreciate it. Any other business? All right. Meeting stands adjourned.